You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Fighting Republican voter suppression has been a major issue for a number of years, but especially since a 2020 election when Republicans just lied about the results led by that idiot Donald Trump. Now, Congress has not reauthorized Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, of course. That took place after the Shelby v. Holder decision was gutted Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. And so as a result, states have been doing whatever they want. Thursday, the House Judiciary Committee held a hearing called Oversight of the Voting Rights Act, the evolving landscape of voting discrimination. Reverend Dr. William J. Barber testified on the importance of the Voting Rights Act, while idiotic North Carolina's first black lieutenant governor, Republican Mark Robinson, says he is tired of his, quote, race being used to push a liberal agenda when it comes to voting rights. Y'all hit play.
Help me understand. Was the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution passed and moved by Republicans or Democrats? Right. And was the movement to put your microphone on, sir? That
would be Republicans.
Was the move for the 64 Civil Rights Act and 65 Voting Rights Act led heavily by Republicans or Democrats?
That would be Republicans.
And so as we sit here today, and as we're being accused by many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle of wanting to somehow perpetuate the Jim Crow South, when in fact what we're trying to do is perpetuate laws that you can believe in, that you've so eloquently discussed, do you see any merit in that whatsoever?
Absolutely not. And if I have a moment just to add something, when you talk about that history is clear. Who stood on which side at every turn in history? It is clear. It's not even in dispute. And it's not in dispute now. What we want is integrity. We don't want power. We want integrity. We want the right thing to be done. We want to encourage citizens to be responsible. We want to have the best election system in the world. In the world. Third world countries, places like India, where the poverty rate is staggering, they have to show that finger when they go vote. It's time that we modernize our election system in this country and stop playing all these silly games based on race. And please, stop using me as a black man as your pawn. And yes, I said it, to push your agenda. I'm sick of it. It happened a long time ago in this country, and I'm tired.
Chairman, I would ask that the witness answer the question. His time has expired.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I just have a unanimous consent request to insert something in the record.
Unanimous consent to insert something in the record.
Consent request.
5 minutes, Mr. Johnson.
You've already said that we could enter that in the record. You said it in your opening, Mr. Chairman. What changed?
Mr. Johnson, can you hear me?
So we're not going to insert something in the record?
So Republicans can't enter anything in the record? I'm just need clarification.
The chairman doesn't want us to be able to insert stuff in the record?
Maybe in a few minutes, but not right now.
Oh, because when I had my time closing, I didn't want to insert it at the time inserted when I spoke.
Mr. Johnson, we're going to go in proper order. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, this is a great way to run a hearing.
You know what? I really get a kick out of the convenient games being played there, Candace. Well, if you look at the history is clear. Republicans love talking about 1865, 66, 67. Mm-hmm. They love talking about 1964, 65, 66, 67, 68. But they don't never want to talk about 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Candace, it's clear. The federal courts ruled that Republicans in North Carolina had a laser-like targeting of black voters to keep them from voting. It's no lie. When 5 federal courts ruled that Texas's voter ID law was discriminatory against black people and Latinos. And so my deal is, you can run Uncle Festa up there, and he rep down by I'm sitting here, I'm tired of being a pawn. How about not being a pawn?
You know, this is a reminder of the power that Black people have, and this is why they are coming undone at the seams. This is why they're so upset. They don't want to live in 2021. Because 2021, when you look out your window, looks like you and me, right? And you and I are in the line to go vote. It's very interesting that they are using this time to finally change the laws. All of a sudden, some of these laws have been on the record for 15 years, but as soon as the vote is swayed against them, they decide to change it. Clearly, we are seeing what is going on here. I don't see why it's falling on deaf ears of this man who testified. But clearly, we see the pattern, like you said. This is something that we know is getting on their nerves because we have the power, and it's something that we have to continue to fight, or else we're going to append the next voting election.
The only reason they are trying to change the laws, Michael, is because they lost. That's it. I mean, we can sit here and dance around all we want to. That's the only reason. They lost. If Ossoff and Warnock had not won Georgia, if Biden and Harris had not won in Georgia, if they had not won in Arizona or Pennsylvania, they would not be trying to change the law. We all know that.
Well, you know, Roland, this is this plays into the Senate Judiciary hearing that took place on Tuesday, when Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana got his behind spanked by Stacey Abrams. Okay, and she broke down what's wrong with Georgia Senate Bill 202. But Mr. Roy in the House of Representatives, he wanted to talk about history. And he wanted Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson to co-sign. But see, Republicans only want to deal with one side of history. They never want to talk about the compromise of 1877, when Republicans conspired with Democrats so that Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican candidate of the 1876 presidential election, could become president. The Republicans agreed to remove the troops out of the Union troops out of the South that were protecting the rights of the newly freed slaves to a certain extent, because that's what the Democrats wanted. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the Lily White movement in 1928, when the Republicans wanted to get Herbert Hoover elected as president. So they appealed to Southern segregationists Democrats in 5 former Confederate states to get them to vote for Herbert Hoover, and he became president. And then Mr. Roy talked about 1964 Civil Rights Act, but he doesn't want to talk about Barry Goldwater of Arizona, who ran for president in 1964, who was a Republican and who was against civil rights. And he doesn't want to talk about the party realignment that took place, because many Southern segregationist Democrats left the Democratic Party, and where'd they go? They went to the Republican Party. You're dealing with a different Republican Party, and you're dealing with a different Democratic Party than you were dealing with before that party realignment. So they don't want to deal with that history. Run that on somebody that doesn't understand history.
But, Xavier, the thing here is they don't want to deal with what's happening today. And they don't want to deal with being called out. And the bottom line is they are specifically targeting black young voters and others because they're trying to use the law, trying to get rid of drive-in voting, curbside voting, trying to get rid of same-day registration. They are trying, all of a sudden, only one ballot drop box in Georgia. Let's not have it outside. Let's move it inside so you can only drop your ballot off when the hour is over. We know the game here, and it's all been led by Republicans, period. All Republicans.
All Republicans. The big deal in Georgia that we're not talking enough about is that the change to the bill is any one person can make a mass challenge, and now there has to be a hearing of individual voters in that state. Where we saw in the runoff election, there were significant challenges, but a lot of different counties, they didn't have to actually to respond to those challenges because they were ridiculous. Now they're required to, or they'll be sanctioned by the state. So you can have one. Who do you think they're going to be targeting? The one person of mass challenges in those states, Black people. And so what we're going to, but it's they've been really bold with their rhetoric. So getting their bold rhetoric on the books in terms of how they talk about black people can also be used in cases against them. So speak up. Be as racist if y'all want to be as ignorant if y'all want to be, because that will be go on record. That could be used in lawsuits, just like it was in North Carolina, to be able to strike down the laws in that state.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.